अमेरिका में there was this big idea कि public transport की growth was restricted, especially big rail, high-speed rail between the cities, because of a push by the automaker lobbies who wanted the focus to stay on big highways, big streets ताकि ज़्यादा गाड़ियाँ बिकें. America is obviously a powerhouse manufacturer, तो उनकी लॉबी शॉबीज का चक्कर था, सब कुछ था. The 8 lane highways वगैरह, वो highways की lanes बढ़ती जाती हैं. There's like studies that suggest that the more lanes you make, you're just making more room for more traffic rather than because गाड़ियाँ तो बढ़ती रहेंगी. Do we know why there has not been much focus in Karachi on public transport key importance, especially when we had the KCR at one point?
So I think there's one policy like this is not made at the city level, it's a national policy. Okay. So I don't think it's Karachi centric, it's countrywide.
Sure.
Dusra, I think it traces not to opposition to public transport. It comes from us borrowing the American model of growth in terms of suburbia. So speculative land spreading out and stuff. When you necessarily build that, you can't do public transport. You can't do public transport in DHA. वो possible नहीं है क्योंकि आप हर घर के सामने से नहीं लाइन गुजार सकते हैं, right? So and they don't need it, right? So when your key decision makers' focus is to build spread out suburban housing where public transport doesn't feature, then they're not interested in public transport. And that's it. It's lack of interest that comes from how we imagine our society is going to grow.
Right.
How do we imagine our cities are going to grow?
Right.
Okay. So which is why over the last, I've only looked at the last 20-25 years because I've lived through that. The focus has been on road building, highway building, right? On building expressways and signal-free corridors, because आपने फैसला कर लिया कि growth means गाड़ी, घर, अपनी ज़मीन.
Yeah.
And when that is the model of growing, then उसमें public transport कहाँ feature करेगी?
Sure. But then that also seems to be very, perspective-wise, it feels limited towards what in Pakistan would be the extreme upper financial class of society, which is a very
not
small
necessarily
number of people.
No, not necessarily. आपकी middle class का भी यही growth dream है और क्या है? लाहौर में मुझे बताएं, if you go along the canal, towards southwest, क्या housing society after housing society वो upper class तो नहीं है?
I mean, by upper class, I mean, Pakistan mein, I don't think the majority of people can buy a house, right?
नहीं, देखो आप aspiration तो ये है ना, they can't. But aspiration तो यही हमने build की है ना. अब अगर आप महमूदाबाद में भी चले जाएं तो वहाँ भी जमीन के घर है लोगों के ज्यादातर, right? अब densification होना शुरू हुई है क्योंकि they can't afford more तो उसी पे बनाते जाते हैं. But for a long time, aspiration तो यही थी कि मेरी अब चाहे वो कराची में आप पूरा आपका स्कीम 33 गुलशन मेहमार, what is it if not suburban housing, right? I mean there are pockets of density. लेकिन जब aspiration ये है वो तो, and which is why are majority of middle income people enamored by Behriya town?
because अपना घर,
dream, yes, खुला road, ज़मीन बाहर लगता है. And then we've got visuals of cities like Dubai, which is also villas. I mean, there are clusters of tall buildings, but actually beyond Sheikh Zayed, it's all villas.
Yeah.
So that's really the aspiration. It's a model that we've borrowed from the United States primarily, and a lot of countries borrowed that from the United States.
Sure.
And I think which is why वो decision makers के भी ज़हन में वही है, वो general public के ज़हन में भी वही है. And so there is, एक तो वो डिमांड भी नहीं थी पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट की इतनी ज्यादा क्योंकि हर कोई सोचता है कि हम गाड़ी खरीद लेंगे और कुछ ने खरीद ली, सब नहीं खरीद सके, जो नहीं खरीदे वो बेचारे बाइक पे आ गए. और अब जो है वो जब आप रोज पेट्रोल भरवाने जाते हैं और आपके मुंह पे चमाट लगता है 250 रुपए का, तो फिर आपको ख्याल आता है कि देयर इज अ बेटर वे टू डू दिस. एंड आई थिंक इट्स अगेन इट्स नॉट देयर फॉल्ट. दिस ड्रीम इज सोल्ड टू पीपल,
जब तक आप उनको एक आइडिया दिखाएंगे नहीं तो इट्स हार्ड फॉर पीपल टू जस्ट इमेजिन दिस.